This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Blake, you and I were talking last night as we welcome into the program. LSU's coming off a big-time win against Mississippi State on the road. They've got the Magnolia Bowl this next week. This game doesn't always mean rankings match up to what the result is. What are your thoughts on there possibly being a letdown for the Tigers on Saturday night like there was last year in Fayetteville?
Yeah, so good morning, Ty. Thanks for having me, Buck. Well, if they're not focused, if they weren't going to be focused, they're surely going to be focused now with the news of Greg Brooks. Ty, was a late night. You know, the family announced, you know, the brain tumor that he had and the emergency surgery. And, just looking, we do some NIL stuff with some players and like just talking to them, Ty. I can LSU go in here and not be focused and be let down a little bit? Yes.
So
but I do just, you know, I do start questioning, like, man, they really want this one now, you know, because of Greg. So talking to some of the guys that we have in our program and guys that we have, you know, partnered up with, they really want this one now. So let's see how this team reacts after that news.
Now, first and foremost, his health is the biggest concern. But when we look on the football field itself, LSU already didn't have a lot of depth in the secondary or quality what we're used to. I mean, how big of a loss is this for Matt House and company on Saturday night?
Massive, Ty. They're playing a true freshman behind him. And so Ryan Yates is a really talented young man, and he came in on Saturday, and they did some different things. They put in, you know, they brought in Andre Sam into that position, who was a 6-year guy from Louisiana. But Greg Brooks is the heart and soul of them defensively. He is the guy that was getting them lined up. He was the guy that was, you know, the energy behind that. It's a massive loss. I can't underestimate. And look, Greg is not the most, and Arkansas fans know this, he's not the most athletic guy. He's not going to wow you with his 40 or vertical, but he plays with massive amounts of heart, and he's been the team leader. Excuse me. He's been a team leader defensively. It's a massive, massive loss. And so now you start asking questions, you know, can KJ start making some throws on a DB room that is highly inexperienced, talented, but highly inexperienced, and start pushing the ball down the field to start forcing some really interesting conversations that LSU is going to have in that room.
Blake, tell us about Harold Perkins. I mean, they've kind of used him in different ways this year, and maybe he's going to be allowed to freewheel it a little bit more on Saturday against the Razorbacks. What's been the approach this year? And because it's been noticeable to plenty, and there's been plenty of commentary about how they've used Harold Perkins to this point.
Yeah, and so now that we have some time after the Florida State loss, Omar Spates was a transfer from Oregon State who had really been struggling with some injury. I think that they moved Harold into a position there because of that and didn't move him around a lot against Florida State because of the injuries they had there. They didn't want to start a guy in Whit Weeks who, as a true freshman against Florida State, but he came in against Mississippi State and looked really good. But now, look, they're going to use him in a big nickel package. He's going to be out there in the slot. He's going to rush from all over the place. He's going to come from the inside. He's going to spy. He's going to come from the right. He's going to come from the left. He's going to go out in coverage. Had a massive pass breakup this past weekend. So, you know, he ran down Mississippi State's fastest wide receiver on the bubble screen. And so they're using him in a lot of versatile ways now. I do think that they weren't able to really use him that way against Florida State now that you know about some of the injuries. But I think he's going to come from the left tackle spot, the right tackle spot. They're probably going to use him in spying on KJ and third and medium type situations, kind of like what they did last year to Malik. And so we'll see how they continue to use him. But I think since Florida State, they've utilized him the best skill set. And look, we know who he is. And he's started to show who, you know, that he's picking up where he left off a season ago, that's for sure.
After Arkansas and BYU and watching that game, is there a feel that LSU needs to bring pressure, or do they feel like they can apply enough pressure just bringing 4 up front this week on KJ and this Razorback offensive line?
Well, here's the crazy thing. I think that they can bring 4, considering how that offensive line and how beat up they are. Now, I think they're going to send pressure. I think that they're going to try to force KJ to throw the football. I don't think they want him out in space. Matt House, and talking to him before when we've had, when we've had him, the one thing that he hates more than anything is quarterbacks running all over him. So I do think that they'll use specific times to send pressure to KJ, but I do think that their ultimate goal now with Greg Brooks completely being out to try to get home with 4. Do they have the personnel to do it? I do think that they have the personnel to do it if Harold Perkins is in that mix, certainly. But look, LSU's got to – I told Ty this last night. The first thing that I would do if I'm Arkansas, I'm getting Satania and I'm getting him on that 9 route, on the go route, and tell KJ, crow hop it and throw it as far as you can, and let's see if he can come down with it. Because LSU, if Arkansas is going to attack an area, that's the area they need to attack. Get the ball out in space and let these DBs at LSU make plays. Don't kind of get out of your game plan early to some extent. Make Tesla and Titania and other dudes make some plays on the outside and force the pressure. Get some quick throws out of there to force that pass rush to start second-guessing themselves.
We're talking with Blake Ruffino of Are You Serious Sports, little LSU this morning. Blake, Landon Jackson, Dwight McLaughlin, we know how important this game is for those two. Landon's a captain. Dwight's probably the best cover corner on this team. How much of an impact do you think they're going to have against their former team that I know they're juiced up to play on Saturday?
Well, I do think it's going to be a big-time battle. Let's start with Landon Jackson, a big battle there because, you have 2 guys that came to the same class together. Ty, right? So going up against one another. That's going to be an interesting matchup. Look, Dwight was a situation at LSU that you really didn't need to want to lose him, but Brian Kelly kind of trying to come in and put his foot down on how the culture is going to change, and I think he got caught up in that mix. I've been a Dwight McLaughlin. I'm not going to say I'm the president and CEO of his fan club, but I'm definitely the treasurer, right? I mean, that kid can play. And so I really do think that it's a good matchup. It's a big-time matchup between him and Malik Neighbors. And LSU has really tried to get Malik into a slot to force him into situations where he's not going up against guys like Dwight McLaughlin. We saw that on Saturday. But I do think that they're going to get their one-on-one battle. If there's one thing that Dwight is good at, what we've seen at LSU and at Arkansas, he's really physical. And I don't know if that's the right approach against Malik. It certainly is against the other receivers that he'll see out there. I think Dwight McLaughlin is going to want to come into Baton Rouge and make a statement. I really like Newton.
Blake, this game the last 3 years has been decided by 3 points. 5 of the last 8 Arkansas victories in this series have come when they've been unranked and LSU has been ranked. How do you see this game playing out Saturday night?
It's a great question because I feel like what I'd say if it's not a 3 to 7 point game that I'm going to be wrong. I do think LSU comes in here, Todd, it's just a gut feeling in reference to coming in here being focused Saturday night in Death Valley, especially with the Greg Brooks stuff. Mm-hmm. I think it's still a 10-point game. I think LSU gets a field goal touchdown late, makes it a little bit nicer and cleaner than some people who won't watch this game because Ohio State and Notre Dame is on. But I do think it's going to be a close game. I would have loved for Arkansas to win last week, so kind of take a little bit of that dog mentality coming from the Razorbacks out. But I do think it's going to be close. I had it 38-28. I still think this offense can score some points on this LSU defense.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.